Okay, my name is Marc Simonetti and I'm an illustrator and a concept artist. I work on cover arts and I work also for video games and movies for concept art. Oh, I begin with the idea, first of all. So for me, doing concept art or cover art is kind of the same thing. We all are different as artists because we are artists because we have something to say, basically, I think. Each one of us, we have not chosen that work. It was obvious for us that we had to express ourselves. So the idea comes from us, from the way we kind of see the world and the way we have to express ourselves. Some guys are pretty dark, some guys have, like me, a fantasy kind of background. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid, role-playing games. Everyone was completely blown away by Star Wars, and you can see all the things reinterpreted by everyone, depending on its background, on his sensibility. So I think that maybe comes from there. And then when you grow up, you get used to do your own pictures. So when you're assigned a subject, you just kind of follow your own tracks to do it. When you start, you don't have any references. So many people say, oh, I don't know what you do to have such imagination or creativity. And that's kind of BS, because you have to pick references to create your own visual library. So everywhere you go, you try to look around to pick stuff that you will use it later on. And references are super important to create your own stuff, your own personal art, because you are the filter when you pick references. And when you're not using reference, you kind of do the generic stuff. For example, it's very different when you're just painting a tree from life and when you are a kid and you paint a tree, because you're just drawing the idea of a tree. You do a trunk and a round shape that make the foliage, and that's all. And it's a very same thing with concept. And so every reference you use will give some realism and also something more to the piece. There's the personal reference first. So basically everywhere I go on holidays, I just shoot every time. So until I get an elbow from my wife just to stop that. And also it can come from books, from music, from everything, from rhythm, from jokes. Also, and when I work on something very specific, then I go simply on the internet and I try to find some cool thing that could give me some inspiration. I'm much more interested in the colors and the light in real life than texture. Texture is kind of I can see some people teaching students to learn to paint copper, and then to paint silver, and then to paint gold. And for me, when I need to paint gold, I just go on the web and say gold, and I will have tons of references that I will need just once, and that's fine with that. But I'm much more interested in composition and in color and lights than pure texture. But texture, they are really important. But it's more a tool than a source of inspiration. I should do that. I really should. I never wake up in the morning because I take care of the kids. But I should do that. I know I should. What I try to do in every illustration that I do, every time I'm out or in anywhere else, I'm always obsessed with the light. So basically, I try to think to myself wherever I go. Okay, how would I have painted this scene, for example? And I try to look at the differences between the real life and what I would have figured out. And I try to understand why those differences and try to retrace the path of the light, that kind of stuff. So basically what I'm doing when I'm doing illustration for sunset, for example, I do a rough sketch, trying to be as accurate as possible, and then I pick references later to confront the two and to correct what I've done. It's just a nature of ages. basically, which we can see with hard edges. That's exactly what it is. Basically, when you painted rocks, when you're a beginner, you tend to make maybe a little bit them too soft. So you have to force yourself to make hard edges on the rocks. I'm not really concerned about the objects themselves. I find that kind of natural to paint them, whatever it is. You know, you just have to. Once you set up your visual library, you don't have to care anymore about those kind of things. Those are not questions for me, you know. They're kind of obvious. They just impose themselves. I don't take the composition as a thing with rules, you know. For me, just like a language when you're painting, when you make something visual. So when I'm I try to, when I say I look at the composition outside, it's more like kind of figuring out the scale, the relative scale. For example, the size of a building and the size of a tree regarding to that. And I try to import that into my paintings to have the correct scale, because that's something very tricky to obtain, especially when you're doing sci-fi with no real references. You try to be as accurate as you can with the scale of the elements. And then regarding the rules, for me, composition is kind of a language. So what's my main idea for my picture? So it should be my focal point. And then where do I want the eyes to go to travel from the focal point? What is the story of this picture? So for example, I don't know, but my main subject is this, then I want the eye to go there, and then I want to say some small stuff. So I add details there and there and there just to manipulate the eye. And then of course you have the rule of third, but you can also play with it you don't want sometimes to have the main subject of the picture to be obvious, so you just try to make it a little bit slightly off from the rule of third. That's the kind of thing. But there are many elements that are recurring. For example, if you want something dynamic, you will try to avoid the vertical lines, your horizontal line and the diagonal lines. My good friend Marc called them the boring lines. So, and you try to create as much curves as possible, because it's pleasant to the eye and the eye will just follow the lines. And when you get, for example, a direct line, I know that the eye will go directly from one point to one other point. So I try to play with those kind of elements. And for me, a picture is just like a pinball, basically. I just try to orientate the eye like it's a ball, and then I know that if I put, for example, an arrow, the eye will just follow the arrow, and then I put a curve and then an element, and I know that it will bounce on this. So it's just like a pinball. So my main subject will be the most important thing for my composition, and I try to use the composition to say exactly what I want to say. The two are very important, because every day will just bring you the craftsmanship that you can't avoid that. So you have to work hard every day to be able to do whatever you want. And the inspiration and for example, the references. I've been doing some Dune cover art recently, so I had to do something from outer space, but so it had to be as exotic as possible. So I kind of merged the cultures that were not mine to make it exotic for me. So it was both Indian and Asian, and I mixed them and with some sci-fi in it, and then I combine them, and it creates some happy accidents, and I just bounce on that to create some new patterns. At least I hope they were new, but and you always have the masters in mind, Mobius and Giger, you know, to create new stuff. So you need the everyday work for the craftsmanship, and then inspiration, and then you just rely on the accident and to see what happens, because you can't always plan everything in a picture. You have a global first image of what you are going to do, and then you just try to keep some freedom just to see what happens. And sometimes it just doesn't work, and you have to force yourself until something clicks, and you can really kind of hear that sound, and you can see the picture that just was kind of boring and just it changed with just one stroke and a lot of work on it. And sometimes you just have the good idea, and the picture is just create itself with no effort at all. You have the two. And sometimes it just doesn't work at all. But hopefully that doesn't happen that much. I was battling far more at my start, and after years and years and years of working, I don't have any more. I would say it. I won't say I'm comfortable in every zone, but I can work professionally in kind of every theme. I've been working on so many. I've made something like more than 400 cover arts for France before getting a bit more known and doing stuff for Valerian or video games. So I've been covering a lot of subjects. Forensic investigation, for example. I've been doing dinosaurs. I've been doing historic stuff. So that allowed me to have a huge visual libraries and not that much. It's not being pretentious. I don't think so. No, I don't have any more wall. And sometimes you have to battle with an illustration, whatever, because sometimes the subjects are really. You just know that you can't put that many elements in a picture, so you have to fight a lot to make it. But that's the work, and that's cool because you get better after each difficult picture. I remember some years before I was not really satisfied with what I was doing, but I was producing a lot just to earn more money because in France cover arts were not paying that much. So I was trying to be as fast as possible, but I was kind of in a routine. I don't know if you say it. In a bad habit, and then I had to look at stuff of people that I loved, and I decided to stop doing that. So basically I was doing something really rough, but people kind of enjoy it because you can see the brush stroke and whatever. And then I've chosen to stop being indulgent with myself, to be too nice with me and not letting anything pass. So I spent something like 2 years kind of rough because I just was super fast to kind of slow. So my financial income just dropped down drastically, but it was really. And then I began to have bigger clients and bigger projects and more exciting stuff. And I was happy to do it. And the picture that I was doing, I was more proud of them than before. Before I was just well, whatever. And no, I don't let anything pass anymore. So that's the kind of choice you have to do also. And sometimes you lose some energy when you push the details. Then if you're not easy with yourself, you just get back, repent everything until you have the same energy, but with the quality that you want. The more the people and the more the advice are kind of sharp, I may say, and individual. But for the beginners, they're kind of always the same kind of flows. Basically, always the composition is always the tricky part. And also you can see the trends coming from Facebook and that are not good trends for training. People don't understand what photo bashing is really about, and people don't understand what speed paintings really means. Speed painting is for training yourself to try new stuff, to try new composition. It's not a work itself. It's something that you do for yourself, not to have the likes on Facebook. And sometimes if you're really late, if you train yourself to be fast, it's a training. So you don't brag about it on Facebook. It's something for you. It's just and photo bashing is cool when you know already how to paint and how to compose a picture. Then when you need a photorealistic image, you can just use your basis to build a picture, and then you use the picture after that. But you need to have the basis before using them. And that's something that we very often see in the portfolios. And also people don't understand exactly what concept art is. They just take the art part and forget about the concept. So we have kind of a lot of empty picture, generic stuff. And the concept art is just the opposite of generic stuff. It's creating something.